Hi, it's Dorothy Guining with Scrapbooking Quebec. This is video 3 for my 2025 Monthly Moments project, a year-long YouTube series sharing an easy blueprint for a year in review album. When finished, the album will include 12 double-page spreads, one for each month of the year, and the blueprint will include 4 double-page multi-photo designs that can be repeated throughout the album. I'm hoping the limited design choice will make the project simple and doable, while at the same time offer a bit of variety. This should keep the album from becoming too repetitive, and there will be options for photos in different numbers and orientations. Last month, I created this one, design number 1, a 12 photo layout that accommodates photos in 2 orientations, landscape and portrait. In this video, I'm going to be sharing design number 2, a design for mostly square photos. This one can accommodate probably up to 15 photos. I'm going to be using 12 photos. Actually, I'm going to be using 11 photos. Anyway, there's a little bit of room to add more here. Here's the material I'm going to be using. It's from the Simple Stories for the Record collection along with Stash. And all videos in this series, including the kit share and intro, are listed and linked below. So let's get started. You can see the cover sheet to that Simple Stories for the Record collection that I shared in its entirety along with other stuff in the intro video that's listed and linked below. Off camera, I prepared myself a frame style foundation page. Now there's 6 pieces of paper here, 3 on each side, and I gutted 4 of them. There is a tutorial on my channel where I explain how to do that, so that will be listed and linked below. But I do want to point out, in that video, I maintain a 1-inch margin around the outer edge. For this particular project, the margin measures 3/4 of an inch, and I did that on purpose because I will need more paper to put on top of my foundation page. So now what I'm going to do is show you the other papers. So in addition to that blue cardstock, I have that checked print, all part of this For the Record collection. I have a ledger paper. This is a cut apart sheet. I don't use it as a cut apart sheet, but I do end up using it. This is another cut apart sheet with the months of the year. I don't end up using that one, even though I love it. I also have some scraps of paper. Now this cardstock here, the red and the blue, the red is called Tomato, the blue Cornflower, both from the Simple Stories Color Vibe collection. Those are the colors I used in my foundation page, and the off-white on top is called Natural from Bazzil. Here are the sticker sheets. The first one I showed you was in the collection pack, and this one was sold separately with the months of the year. And I also have my photo. So today I'm going to be using 11 photos, but again, I figure you can use about 15 photos on this layout if you want to. I'm also showing you that I have some photo flaps here. This is a new product from Stampin' Up. It was actually an older one from Close to My Heart that Stampin' Up picked up. They're called flip flaps, and it's a way of adding additional photos on your layout. I will end up doing one on here, but I don't show you very well, and I'm very sorry about that. But basically, it's a pocket that you adhere on top of your page or your page protector in order to add extra photos. I also showed you a template there a moment ago. That's from Simple Stories. I will be using that. You don't need it, but it is a really nice and handy tool. And in this tray, I have a bunch of embellishments, and I'll go through all of that later on. The first thing I'm going to do is cut up a bunch of paper for my foundation page. So I'm taking this blue paper, this Cornflower blue cardstock from Simple Stories, and cutting myself out a block that basically measures the same as that Simple Stories template that you see just in the upper right corner. Also, you just see me fuss with this a little bit, then I will continue cutting some other papers. I will put measurements for all of this on the screen a bit later on. Right now, it's not going to make much sense, but basically what I'm going to do is have a mat that spans across the 2 pages that's going to house a grid, and then I'm going to have a layered border over on the left-hand page, which is where my journaling and focal point photo will go. So I continue cutting this paper. For this ledger paper here, what I am going to do is get out my Creative Memories border maker system. I have the notebook border cartridge, and I'm just punching myself out a notebook border. And now I'm just kind of tidying it up a bit and trimming it down. What I will do is add ink to some of these papers. The ink I'm using is Morning Mist by VersaFine Claire, and I'm not going to make you watch all of it. But here are all my papers trimmed and ready to go. The ledger paper and blue paper I did not ink. These other 2 prints are all inked, like I mentioned earlier, with that pale gray ink Morning Mist from VersaFine Claire. Now what I'm going to do is place all of these on my foundation page to let you know how I plan to move forward. So I'm placing that blue cardstock down as a mat. Now I'm placing the other 3 kind of layered on top of each other, and that's going to be where I place my focal point photo. I would like to point out my focal point photo is a 4x6. I'm using 1 photo. I figure you could use this area to add 2, maybe even 3 photos. So that's one way of adding more photos to this layout. I just showed you the little flip flaps that I have there. I do plan to use that in that block in the bottom right. And I'm showing you how I plan to place my photo. So basically I have 10 photos here, and in the middle I am going to create a big block, and that's where my title is going to be. That could easily be replaced with 2 other photos. So that's another way of adding more photos to this layout. Right now I know I need a mat for my focal point photo, so I additioned red and blue. I decide to go with the blue. And I also want to show you how I cut my block photos there. So basically, for my photos, I used a nesting square die. I think it measures about 2 7/8 of an inch. You don't need to use a die, but if you have it, it's a great time to pull them out because it cuts out identical squares every time. Now, I didn't have a 3-inch die for my photo mat. So you can see on my trimmer, I have that green tape. I basically bumped my photo up along there, and that made it so that I cut myself out identical squares in red. Now I'm showing you once again that flip flap. So you can see in that bottom right corner, I plan to add 2 extra photos. I'm just opening up that package. These measure 3 by 3. So I'm basically slipping my photo in, and there's one behind there, and that's going to be adhered right on top of my page protector. And again, I'm sorry I don't do a good job of showing you that, but basically it's a pocket with an adhesive top. You can either adhere it directly on your page, or I plan to adhere it on top of my page protector. And it's a way of adding extra photos. And in this case, I said this page design can accommodate up to 15 photos. If you add a bunch of those page flaps or photo flaps, you can add a lot more photos as well. So as you can see, I moved ahead and adhered that blue block on the right-hand page. And now what I'm doing is taking that template and securing it on top of that blue block with some of that mint low-tack tape from the scrapbook.com. I just don't want it to move when I adhere my photos. I'm also showing you that I just trimmed off 1/8 of an inch from that side of the blue block that is on the far left. Now what you see me doing is just simply adhering my photos within the block. The one in the top right, I'm not going to adhere right away. I'm actually going to turn that one into a pocket. You're going to see it later on. It's going to be a place for some hidden journaling. So I continue doing that, and in that middle block there, I'm going to adhere that piece of paper, but I'm going to continue with the photos first. Obviously, when I adhere that middle block there, it kind of goes over the template. So what I'm doing is just adhering the part towards the middle, and then I'm just simply going to lift the template there and press down on that piece of paper. Now, when it comes time to adhering that block in the top right, what I want to do is add a different adhesive there. I want to add a tag behind it for some hidden journaling. So I want there to be a bit more space. So the tape or adhesive I'm getting out, it's basically narrow foam strips. Again, another scrapbook.com product. And what I'm doing is lining it up along 3 of the edges there, leaving the top open. And then I'm simply going to place that photo in that top block there. Once again, using this template to place the photos. I absolutely love these Simple Stories templates. I've had mine for many, many, many years and I use it all the time. I have several of them, but this one is definitely my favorite. So I'm placing my photos, and that's just going to give a little bit more space behind the photo to place my tags. So you're going to see me get that out in a moment there. And yeah, so that's perfect. I can add some extra journaling there. Now what I'm going to do is start adhering the pieces on the left-hand page. So I am going to basically take that very same mint tape, adhere the 2 pages together. That way I can use the right page as a guide to place my paper on the left-hand page. And then what I'm going to do is adhere a row of photos. So that's going to kind of complete my grid of photos here. So obviously I have 10 photos here. You can add 12 photos here if you want, simply by replacing that middle block that I have with that pattern paper. You can add 2 more photos there if you want. So once again, I'm using that template just a way to position my photos, especially to maintain that nice equal margin in between my photos. Once that's down, what I'm going to do is take the 3 other papers and form a border just to the left-hand side of my photo, starting with that little checked print there, and then I come in with the 2 other papers as well. I'm not going to adhere my focal point photo at this point because what I want to do is play around with embellishments and placement and all of that first. I think I probably mentioned this early in the video, but I am using a 4x6 photo here for my focal point photo. But if you have more photos on this layered border, you can add extra photos. I can see easily adding 2 photos, even 3 photos. And again, if I mentioned that earlier in the video, I apologize. So now I've got my 3 papers all adhered. I am going to keep my focal point separate for the time being. And what I want to do is show you all of my embellishing. So off camera, I did do my journaling. I did it on the computer, printed it on vellum, and I will have to trim that down a little bit later on, but I do plan to place it kind of behind the photo, coming out towards the left, layered on top of that ledger paper. Also, I have a bunch of embellishments here. So I have 2 ephemera packs from this Simple Stories for the Record collection. In my kit share, I kind of dumped them in these empty stamp boxes. But what I did for this video is I kind of pre-selected some. So I have 2 little pots here, just narrowed down my choice a bit. In addition to that, I have a bunch of cut apart sheets. Most of them are tags. That's what I'm showing you right now. Already, I have one behind that photo in the top right. And in addition to that, I did die cut myself some red hearts from that red cardstock, the same cardstock that's in the foundation page. Now I'm going to show you the dies. These are actually dies, stitched heart dies from Scrapbooking Cards Today magazine. It was in one of their samplers from a few years ago. I absolutely love them, so I use them quite a bit. And this is February, so I thought hearts would be appropriate for this month. In addition to that, I'm showing you I have some enamel dots, some self-adhesive brads. This is from the For the Record collection. I actually have 2 packs along with some chipboard. I have some more of those border pieces of that ledger paper. I actually cut those out for a previous layout, but I may end up using them for this page as well. And here's the chipboard. I absolutely love it. I end up not using it, I don't think, on this one, but I do have a full year to use all of this beautiful product. I also have 2 sticker sheets. That's what I'm going to dig out right now. One of them came with the collection pack. That one has a lot of kind of images and a few wordy bits, stuff like that. And the other one was sold separately. I absolutely love it. So it has the months of the year, the days of the week, and I will be using the word February for my title. That's that other cut apart sheet. I don't end up using that after all. So what I want to do right now is start building my clusters. And the first one I'm going to work on is the title area. So I'm going to take that February sticker, put it on wax paper. I definitely know I want to use that. It doesn't show up that well on that check paper, so I grabbed that border of that ledger paper, and I like how that looks on top of that checked print. February stands out a lot better, and it's also a repetition to the ledger paper on the left-hand page. I tuck a heart behind that. I do like it. Now I'm looking for another wordy bit to add to my title. I end up going with that blue one. It's an ephemera piece that says "For the Record." I find myself a little sticker. It's a camera. These are all snapshots from the month of February, so I kind of like that. Just layering bits and pieces in that area. I do add more to it later on, but now I'm moving over to the top left. So I tuck in two of those die cut hearts. I kind of like that. I know my journaling is going to pop out on the left side of that photo. I'm going to have to trim that down a little bit later on. And I decide to switch up the heart on the right page. It was a bigger heart. I ended up putting a smaller one there. Now I'm digging into the tags. I put a cut apart sheet that says notes on the top of that focal point photo, but I prefer something more bright. I ended up going with the yellow tag. I like that better. Now that I have two tags on the layout, I was looking for a third spot. I decide to put one towards the bottom of the page on the right. I'm happy with that. And now I'm just looking for another ephemera piece, just something to put in that area at the bottom left page, just because I wanted to create a visual triangle. And I went with something very simple. I just want it to be a subtle hint of a visual triangle. I definitely will be coming in with some finishing touches, but at this point I do want to start adhering what I have decided upon. I trimmed down that tag that I'm putting towards the bottom of the page on the right because the rest of it would be wasted. I just adhered it behind the photo, and now you see me coming in with that ledger paper that I'm going to put on top of that check print. That way my title's going to stand out a lot better. So I'm adhering that February sticker flat to the page, and I'm just putting that small heart behind it. I really actually like how that looks. I find it really makes the title stand out more. I am about to run out of battery here, so you can see me kind of fussing around, but in a moment you're going to see I come back. That heart is adhered, the camera is adhered, and what I ended up doing off camera was I backed that ephemera piece that says "For the Record," and I added some foam adhesive. So that's going to be popped up. So I'm adhering all of that. Then what I am going to do is just move over to the left-hand page. So at this point, I have to trim down my journaling. Basically, again, I want it to kind of pop out from underneath my photo. It doesn't have to be as big as it is right now, so I'm just trimming it down. And on the left-hand side, I am going to tear it. So I'm using my Creative Memories tearing tool, and I'm just going to adhere the vellum behind the photo because I don't want my adhesive to show. Now I'm placing my photo on top of it along with the two hearts. The smaller heart will overlap my focal point photo, and I do end up popping that up with some foam adhesive as well. And I do end up tucking that yellow tag behind there as well. So I'm actually quite liking how all of this is coming together. I'm quite thrilled with my design for the month of February. Now what you're going to see me do is probably work towards the bottom of the page in a moment. That ephemera piece that I'm putting at the bottom, once again, I'm backing it in a little bit of scrap cardstock because I want to pop it up on foam adhesive. I do have to fill in that little yellow block. Right now it just says "Remember" with a little yellow block on top. And now I'm coming in with some finishing touches. So I find myself a little wordy bit in blue. It says right now "Remember," but it actually gets switched up a bit later on, but it does stay in blue. Basically, I'm filling in that yellow block that's on top of the word "Remember." I find another wordy bit that says "Makes me smile." I put it above the focal point photo. At this point, I put a little heart in the middle of that camera that's on that title area. That gets switched up a bit later on as well, but it stays there for a few moments. I'm going into the self-adhesive brads. I do want to finish off my tags, so I end up just auditioning a few different ones. In the end, I go with kind of a medium-sized blue one on the left page and a medium-sized red one on the right page. But I do have to try a few options before I make that decision. Now, I do want a third one, but I think what I want is to put some twine in that tag where my hidden journaling is going to be on the top right. I also know I want to add the year 2025. But basically, that is it. February 2025 is documented and ready for my album. Off camera, I added reinforcers to the tag in the top pocket, in the top right, and I also added 2025 to the title area using Simple Stories Alpha Book stickers. I also replaced that heart sticker that was in the middle of that camera with a self-adhesive brad, and that gave me 3 adhesive brads on the page. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd greatly appreciate a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, Scrapbooking Quebec, I would be thrilled if you did. And if you are a subscriber, thank you very, very much. Have a great day, and I will see you soon on YouTube. Bye-bye.